Indian people is a confluence of religions, traditions and customs. That is proud to assume the presidency of G20. As the country blooms into a new era, we look to another poignant symbol for humanity to emerge victorious from its challenges. The design, rendered in saffron, white, green, and is drawn from the national flag of India of 7 continents at G20 India 2023. Sitting above the lotus is a representation of the earth, reflecting India's pro-planet work as one family. From this, we derive the theme for G20 India 2023, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, one earth, one family, one future.
अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड उत्कल बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्छल जलधि तरंगा तब शुभ नामे जागे तब शुभ आशीष मागे गाये तव जय गाथा जनगण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे நீராறும் கடலொடுத்த நிலமடந்த கெழிலொழுகும் சீராரும் வதனமென திகழ்பரத கண்டமிதில் தெற்கணமும் அதிர்ச்சிறந்த திராவிடனல் திருநாடும் தக்க சிறு பிறை நுதலும் தரித்தனருந் திலகமுமே அத்திலக வாசனை போல் அனைத்துலகும் இன்பமுற எத்திசையும் புகழ் மணக்க இருந்த பெருமை திறம் வியந்து செயல் மறந்து வாழ்த்ததுமே வாழ்த்ததுமே வாழ்த்ததுமே.
Please be seated. Thank you for the wonderful rendition, Raghavi and Bosha, students of Sri Krishna College of Engineering and Technology. Friends, it's customary, it's our culture to start any event on a traditional note while lighting of the Kuttu Velakku. May I request Minister Thiru L. Murugan and India's special invitees, press and media, and young friends in the audience. It is my pleasure to invite you to this premier event. This is Eileen. We shall be your host today.
You're about to witness a power-packed summit with dignitaries inspiring the youngsters with their insights and an eye-catching cultural event.
Present here. With great pride and immense pleasure, I welcome the Honorable Governor of Tamil Nadu, Thiru R.N. Ravi. Sir, we are honored to have with you here, and your leadership and dedication to our state have been invaluable, and we look forward. Honorable Minister of State for Fisheries, Animal Husbandry and Information.
Honorable Governor, Tamil Nadu has been in the forefront of India's growth story, and we as a state have always got great representation at the center. It's an absolute pleasure to invite our guest of honor, Honorable Minister of State for Fisheries, Animal Husbandry and Dairying and Ministry of Information and Broadcasting, Government of India, Thiru Dr. L. Murugan, to address us on this occasion. Please, sir.
Respected Thiru R.N. Raviji, Honorable Governor of Tamil Nadu, respected Thiru Amitabh Kant, G20 Sherpa, respected Tirumadi S. Malarvili, Chairperson and Managing Trustee of Sri Krishna Institutions, respected Sri Aditya, Trustee, Sri Krishna Institutions, dignitaries, delegates, ladies and gentlemen, and my young friends, young ambassadors, good morning, vanakkam to you all. உங்கள் அனைவருக்கும் என்னுடைய அன்பு கலந்த காலை வணக்கத்தை தெரிவித்துக் கொள்கிறேன். I feel privileged to be here at this prestigious G20 Young Ambassadors Summit with you all. Youth are the future of the country and the world. The vision which the young minds take forward is going to shape the future of the world. That's why in the overall structure of G20, this Young Ambassadors Summit is going to play a crucial role. Ladies and gentlemen, under the dynamic leadership of our Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi ji, India is proudly playing its role as a president of G20 this year. முன்னாடியெல்லாம் G20னா நம்ம நியூஸ் பேப்பரில் டிவியில் தான் படிப்போம். ஆனால் இன்னைக்கு அந்த G20 நம்மளுடைய பிரதமர் திரு நரேந்திர மோடிஜி அவர்களுடைய தலைமையில் நம்மளுடைய கோயம்புத்தூரில் நடக்குது. நமக்கெல்லாம் மிகப்பெரிய ஒரு பெருமையான விஷயமாக இருக்கிறது. It coincides with the Amrit Kaal, where a confident nation is surely marching towards its destination as a developed country by 2047. India, the fastest developing major economy in the world, is deeply committed to democracy and multilateralism. India's G20 presidency seeks to play an important role by finding global solutions for the well-being of all. And in doing so, it manifests the true spirit of Vasudeva Kudumbakam, or the world is one family. India's G20 presidency will work to promote this universal sense of oneness. Hence the theme is One Earth, One Family, One Future. This theme is also closely linked into the vision of life shared by our Honorable Prime Minister, life that is lifestyle of environmental. And in that, the youth are very important partners. Dear friends, the G20 Young Ambassadors Summit 2023 brings together young leaders across the globe to discuss and debate global challenges and agree policy recommendations they would like to see G20 leaders take forward. This summit would exemplify India's youth-centric efforts and provide an opportunity to showcase its values and policy messages to the youth across the globe. Dear friends, the world today is facing many challenges like climate change, poverty, destruction of biodiversity, food and nutrition, education, health, women empowerment, and many others, and India can offer a ray of hope to address many of these. India under Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi's leadership is striving to address these challenges in her own way. When the global pandemic COVID-19 struck, நமக்கெல்லாம் தெரியும் கொரோனா வந்தது கோவிட் நேரத்தில். அந்த உலகமே பாதிக்கப்பட்டிருந்த நேரத்தில் கிட்டத்தட்ட 200 கோடி பேருக்கு மேலே நம்மளுடைய வேக்சின் தயாரித்து நம்மளுடைய நாட்டில் கொடுத்து மற்ற நாடுகளுக்கும் கொடுத்தது. நம்மளுடைய நாட்டிலே அன்ற ஆத்ம நிர்பர் பாரத் சொந்த முயற்சியில் நாம் வேக்சின் தயாரித்து சொந்தமாக நம்மளுடைய மக்களுக்கு கொடுத்த பெருமை நம்மளுடைய பிரதமர் திரு நரேந்திர மோடிஜி அவர்களை சாரும். Today we will have the panel discussion on the topic of blended education for all using digital technology. இதையும் நானும் தமிழில் சொல்லலான்னு நினைக்கிறேன். எப்படி இந்த கொரோனா காலத்தில் லாக்டவுன் இருந்தது, எஜுகேஷன் பாதிக்கப்பட்டிருந்தது. அந்த நேரத்தில் நம்மளுடைய பிரதமர் ஆத்ம நிர்பர் பாரதத்தின் கீழே அது ஒரு மந்திரமாக எடுத்து ஹோல் கவர்மெண்ட் அப்ரோச்சில் ஒரு கீயாக பயன்படுத்தி மிஷன் பிஎம் வித்யா அப்படின்ட்டு கிட்டத்தட்ட 59 எஜுகேஷனல் சேனல்ஸை தூர்தர்ஷனுடைய ஃப்ரீ டிஷ்ல நம்ம கொடுத்தது என்பது ஒரு மிகப்பெரிய ஒரு சாதனை, ஒரு வரலாற்று சாதனையை நாம் படைத்திருக்கிறோம். அதே நேரத்தில் நாம் அந்த ஃப்ரீ இது கொடுத்தது மட்டுமல்ல, ஏன்னா கனெக்டிவிட்டி வேணும். அந்த கனெக்டிவிட்டி கிராமந்தோறும் எடுத்துக்கொண்டு செல்ல வேண்டும் என்பது ஒரு மிகப்பெரிய ஒரு விஷயம். ஏன்னா அந்த எஜுகேஷன் கொரோனா நேரத்தில் கோவிட் பீரியடில் கடைசியில் இருக்கிற அந்தமான்ல இருக்கிற ஒரு சிட்டிசனுக்கும் சரி, காஷ்மீர்ல இருக்கிற ஒரு சிட்டிசனுக்கும் சரி, லத்தச்சீவில் இருக்கிற அருணாச்சல் பிரதேசில் இருக்கிற கடைசி சிட்டிசனுக்கும் அந்த எஜுகேஷன் ஃபெசிலிட்டிஸ் போகணுன்றது தான் அந்த நம்ம கவர்மெண்ட்டுடைய முக்கிய நோக்கமாக இருந்தது. அதுக்கு எலக்ட்ரானிக்ஸ் கம்யூனிகேஷன், I&B டிபார்ட்மெண்ட் அண்ட் மிஷன் எஜுகேஷன் டிபார்ட்மெண்ட் அனைவரும் சேர்ந்து வித்யா என்ற போர்ட்டல் அது அந்த பெருமையான கல்வியை நாம் கொடுத்தோம். Friends, there are many challenges for which the world community looks like to India with hope. In recent past, especially in last 9 years, India has risen up to many of these challenges and developed unique India solutions to these problems. The Digital India, the Jan Dhan Aadhaar Mobile, Jam Trinity, the spirit of Startup India. நம்ம எல்லாரும் இப்போ வெறுமை கொள்ளணும். 2014க்கு முன்னாடி வெறும் கைவிட்டு என்ற அளவுக்கு ஸ்டார்ட் அப் கம்பெனிஸில் இருந்தது. இந்த 9 இயர்ஸில் கிட்டத்தட்ட 1 lakh ஸ்டார்ட் அப் இந்தியா கம்பெனிஸ் வந்திருக்குன்னா அது நம்மளுடைய கவர்மெண்ட் எடுத்த முயற்சி, நம்மளுடைய யங் மைண்ட்ஸ் அவர்களுடைய பார்ட்டிசிபேஷனால we reached this startup unicorns. The direct beneficiary transfer to the million of farmers and beneficiaries, establishing India as one of the leading countries in renewable energy with more than 200-fold rise of in solar energy installations, and many other such solutions developed by India towards addressing the challenges could also be a guiding light for other societies and economies. The youth of India have been the major driving force in many of these solutions. Under the leadership of Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi ji, India continuously strive to increase the value of its youth power and equip them to lead the tomorrow's world. For that, our government introduced a new education policy 2020. It's a very important step in this regard, the importance given to the quality education in mother language. அதாவது நம்மளுடைய தாய்மொழி கல்வியை நாம் ஆரம்ப கல்வியில் கொடுக்கணும் என்பது தான் நம்மளுடைய புதிய தேசிய கல்விக் கொள்கையினுடைய மிகவும் முக்கியமான தாரக மந்திரம் என்பதையும் உங்களிடத்தில் இந்த நேரத்தில் சொல்லிக்கொண்டு லோக்கல் லாங்குவேஜ் அண்ட் breaks of silos between academy and extracurricular, skill of youth minds, combining the world-class education and Indians' rich culture ethos have been the hallmark of this policy. This will surely create the best human resource for tomorrow's India and the world. Friends, the theme of this Young Ambassador Summit is fueling the future of global youth. India, which more than 65% of its population below the age of 35, is uniquely placed in this aspect. Even as many countries today face the challenges of aging population, India with its demographic dividend of young people can be the asset within and outside the country. India's G20 presidency and Young Ambassador Summit offer a value opportunity to the young ambassadors to work for the global causes. And I am sure the young ambassadors will surely grab this opportunity. Friends, before I concluding, I wish to appreciate the enormous efforts put in by Sri Krishna College of Engineering and Technology, Coimbatore, in holding this grand event very gracefully. I also take this opportunity to welcome all of you to this great land of Tamil Nadu, Coimbatore, which in its own way have given many young global ambassadors from the great mathematician Srinivasa Ramanujam to the chess champion Vishwanath Anand also. Enjoy the Tamil hospitality of Coimbatore and get immersed in Tamil art and culture. I am sure that the young ambassadors will use this opportunity to discuss and raise awareness on global issues, exchanges ideas and sharing experiences. This experience will definitely help in their future course of directions, which will directly impact the course of global development. I wish this summit a huge success. Thank you. Thank you very much. Jai Hind, Jai Bharat.
Thank you, Honorable Minister, for your very inspiring talk on India's role in the future. You showed us how, as a state, we play a tremendous role in coming together as one family in building our nation. India holds the presidency of G20 from December 1, 2022 to November 30, 2023. Sri Krishna Institutions is honored to play a role in this massive exercise. The G20 consists of two parallel tracks, the finance track and the Sherpa track. The G20 process from the Sherpa track is coordinated by the Sherpas of member countries who are personal emissaries of the leaders. We are privileged to have with us, as our guest of honor, India's G20 Sherpa, Thiru Amitabh Kant. May I request you, sir, to address our young audience.
Honorable Thiru Shri R.N. Ravi, the Honorable Governor of Tamil Nadu, Honorable Minister for Animal Husbandry, Fisheries and Information Broadcasting, Mr. Thiru Shri Murugan, Honorable Chairperson and Managing Trustee of the Sri Krishna Institution, Srimati Maldravi, Mr. Aditya, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I am truly delighted to be in the midst of this very august gathering, and particularly young G20 ambassadors who've assembled here from different parts of India and different parts of Tamil Nadu. Let me first say that I've had the pleasure of working with the Honorable Governor of Tamil Nadu as a very young officer in my first posting. When I joined as sub-collector, he was then the SP. He was a very daring and a very dynamic officer, and who's gone on to do very legendary things in Kerala. But since then, people like me have aged with times, and he has gone only younger and younger and younger. So the Honorable Governor, Tamil Nadu is very fortunate to have a very dynamic governor like Mr. Ravi. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm truly delighted that Sri Krishna Institution has taken this initiative of holding the G20 Young Ambassadors Summit, because we are in the midst of several challenges across the world. The post-COVID era has seen about 200 million people fall below the poverty line. Almost 100 million people have lost their jobs. There is a global recession going on. 1/3 of the world is under recession according to IMF. 75 countries of the world are facing a global debt crisis. There's a crisis of climate action and climate finance. And if we are not able to accelerate the pace of climate action to 1.5 degrees centigrade by 2050, we'll all be extinct. And therefore, this is one of the biggest challenges before us. And on top of all that, we've had a challenge of the financial collapse of banks in the United States of America, witnessed through the Silicon Valley Bank. And we are seeing a war going on in Europe for the last over a year and a half, and bringing in huge geopolitical tensions impacting food, fuel, fertilizer, breaking down global value chains. And therefore, ladies and gentlemen, India is taken over the presidency of G20 during very turbulent times, time of great upheaval in the global economy. But every challenge is an opportunity, and to our mind, this is a huge opportunity for India. In the past, India has always responded to an agenda set by the developed world. This is the first time that India is setting an agenda for the entire world. G20 is important because it accounts for about 85% of the global GDP. It accounts for about 75% of the global trade. It accounts for 90% of the patents, and it accounts for 2/3 of the world's population. And as the Honorable Prime Minister, Mr. Modi, has said, that India's presidency will be very inclusive, will be very decisive, will be very ambitious and action-oriented. And therefore, ladies and gentlemen, during the last 3.5 months, we've held almost about 40 different meetings, and each one of them, we've tried to be ambitious and decisive and set a trend for setting a new discourse in the world. Ladies and gentlemen, India's presidency is critical because a good presidency is incumbent upon 3 critical factors. And let me dwell on some of them. The 3 critical factors is the political and the developmental narrative that we set out for the rest of the world, which I'll dwell on. Secondly, it is the kind of priorities that we spell out. And thirdly, how well we organize this, and I'll briefly dwell on each one of them. The development and the political narrative is that we are a democracy, we are the motherhood of all democracy. The democracy has existed in India from the time of the Gitas. We've seen this embedded during each one of our periods and regimes, and when actually Alexander came from Greek, and the Europeans talk about Greece as a great democracy, but when Alexander came to India, he discovered that actually democracy had existed in India from before, and that it had a very vibrant form of institutions of democracy. Ladies and gentlemen, it's important because of the development narrative that even in a democracy, we elect through a very vast electoral system where over 1 billion people vote, and voting takes place even in Gir Wildlife Sanctuary, where there are 40 tigers but only 2 voters, or going to Siachen where there are for a few javans, electronic machines are taken, and therefore it's a very vibrant, lively democracy, and that we have a leader who's been elected through a democratic process, and very few democracies have a leader who's got elected twice and still has a very high approval rating of over 70%. So when the leaders of the world meet on September 9th and 10th, you'll be led by a leader who has a very mass support. But the development narrative is very important. And that development narrative is that India has been able to digitize its economy in a very big way. It built identity for over 1 billion people. It has 1.4 billion people have a digital identity. During 2015 and 17, we were able to create 500 million bank accounts. And during that period, 55% of the bank accounts across the world were opened in India. Every second bank account was opened in India. And then we ensured that there were 900 to 1 billion mobile phones, and everybody uses a mobile phone to do his digital fast payments within seconds. So today we do about 11x more fast payments than what Europe and USA do together, and 4x of what China does. So India has actually been a state which is #1 in data usage. India is the #1 mobile user. Its cost of lowest data is the cheapest in the world, and it has made the biggest digital transformation in the world, ladies and gentlemen. But India's development agenda is because in the last 8 years, we've built about 30 million houses. And 30 million houses is like providing a house to every single Australian. We've provided about 110 million toilets, which is like providing a toilet to every single person in Germany, the entire population of Germany. And we've been able to provide piped water to 243 million citizens of India, which is like providing piped water to every single citizen of Brazil. And we've been able to build 55,000 kilometers of roads, which is like providing the earth with 1.5 times of the earth, the full diameter of the earth, the road across it. And therefore, if you look at India's transformation during the COVID period, we were able to give vaccines to 2.2 billion people of India, which was totally paperless, cashless, and was entirely digital. And therefore, we've ensured that we build up digital public infrastructure, which is totally digital in nature. And that is why we provide a health insurance to 500 million people of India. 500 million people means twice the size of America. And that is that I can be from Tamil Nadu traveling to Bihar, or I can be from UP and traveling to Kerala. I'll take my health insurance with me. So what you see is a massive transformation in terms of size and scale. And as the Bank of International Settlement has said, that what India has achieved in 8 years would have taken normally India 50 years to achieve. We've achieved in 8 years what would have taken 50 years to achieve. And that is because of the vast amount of digital transformation and the infrastructure that we've built. So that is the developmental and the political narrative for G20. And when India hosts the G20 presidency. The second is the content and the priority that we spell out. And the priority for us is that India is aiming to accelerate the process of inclusive, sustainable, resilient growth, because growth is important for the world. If we are not able to push for growth for the leaders of the world, 1/3 of the world which is living in poverty will not be able to grow. And therefore, inclusive, resilient, sustainable growth is critical. It is critical because in the post-COVID era, vast segments of people have been impacted on learning outcome, on health outcomes, on nutrition. The SDG goals of 2030, the Sustainable Development Goals, instead of progressing, have regressed. And therefore, you need a new accelerated action plan for sustainable development goals so that the entire world can benefit from India's leadership. And thirdly, we are pushing for climate action, climate finance, and what the Prime Minister has termed as the Lifestyle for Sustainability, LIFE program. And all this means that the developed world, which had committed to $100 billion a year in 2009 at Copenhagen and has not lived up to it, should provide that financial support. But more than that, large sums of monies are available with private finance, which is not able to flow in because the World Bank and IMF were designed for another era. They were designed for post-World War II, the post-Bretton Woods period, and they need to be redesigned for an era of climate change and sustainable development goals. And therefore, our aim is that reformed multilateralism is important during G20. And fifthly, digital transformation and digital public infrastructure based on the unique Indian model of the Indian narrative is important. And how do we transform lives of citizens across the world? I gave you the story of the digital transformation of India. If you look around the world, you'll find 4 billion people of the world do not have a digital identity. 2.5 billion people do not have a bank account. 133 countries of the world do not have a fast payment at all. And therefore, they'll never be able to use digital education, digital agriculture, digital health. And therefore, the Indian model needs to be taken to the world, to the south of the world, to the people and to the countries which have not progressed in the last few years. And that is our objective. And lastly, the Prime Minister has spelled out women-led development as very important, as one of India's key priority. Because in India today, the last NFHS survey has shown that there are 1,022 women to 1,000 men. There are more women than men in India. And women are very dynamic leaders, like the chairperson of the Sri Krishna Institution, who's a very dynamic lady, and who has driven this institution. We have many more women who are leaders. And if you put them into leadership position, you'll transform not only health, education, you'll bring in a huge amount of digital and financial inclusion. When we started the Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana, opening bank accounts for women, in India, only 17% of the women had bank accounts. Today, almost 80% of the women have bank accounts in India. In a short while, we've jumped from 17% to 80%. That has been the power of financial inclusion. And that is what we need to take across the world. So, ladies and gentlemen, these are our key priorities. And I come to the third point, which is about how are we conducting the G20. Unlike most countries which do their G20 in one city or one place, the Prime Minister was very clear. His vision was that instead of making this a G20 presidency for the leaders, we'll convert this into a people's presidency. People of every city, every panchayat, every district will participate in this G20 and understand what G20 is about. And therefore, he said, take this out of Delhi and Mumbai And today we are doing G20. We are holding over 220 meetings in 59 cities of India. 59 cities of India. And our objective is that each one of these cities get transformed through better drainage, sewage, solid waste. We are involving the states so that these states can then push their culture, their handicraft, their one district, one product, many other things. And also we are pushing for millets as an alternative crop to rice and wheat. And because millets have great iron, calcium, protein, are less water consuming. And therefore during this period, we want states to emerge as great brands. We want districts to transform themselves. And I'm truly glad that Sri Krishna Institution has used this opportunity to make this into a young and global brand ambassadors movement. This is a remarkable feat by the Sri Krishna Institution, so that to assemble so many young people. Young people are important because they are going to change the destiny of the world. Ladies and gentlemen, we are a young nation. If you look at India's population, over 1 billion people are less than the age of 35. And even in 2047, by the time we become 100, India's average age will still be 29. We'll still be the youngest nation in the world. We will be supplying almost 35% of the workforce to the world. The youngest nation supplying 35% of the workforce to the world. And therefore, if India is to transform and grow at rapid rates, very high rates, to become a $5 trillion or a $10 trillion economy, it can only be on the back of young people like all of you. And therefore, I'm truly glad that this is a G20 Young Brand Ambassadors Summit. And that's why I really thought that this would be a great opportunity to meet, interact, and actually tell you what the objectives of G20 are. G20 is unique for India. G20 is a great people's movement, and G20 is really an opportunity for young people to benefit out of this movement. And therefore, I really congratulate Sri Krishna Institution, its chairperson, its young trustee, Mr. Aditya, and all the other trustees who have assembled here. And I congratulate the city of Coimbatore for hosting this G20 Young Brand Ambassadors Meet. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, sir, for those motivating and very inspiring words. Indeed, this inspires our youngsters to look at India as a country that's growing by leaps and bounds. Dear audience, this is the moment we have all been looking forward to. Sri Krishna Institution is so proud to host this G20 Young Ambassadors Summit. We have with us our chief guest, Honorable Governor of Tamil Nadu, Thiru R.N. Ravi, sir, who has graciously accepted to be with us, sir. Sir, may I kindly request you to deliver the keynote address.
Respected Dr. L. Murugan, Minister of State for Fisheries, Animal Husbandry, Dairy, Ministry of Information and Broadcasting, Government of India. My over 40 years of dear friend through Amitav Khan, who happens to be holding currently the responsibility of G20 Sherpa for our country. His dynamism I have witnessed right from my younger days. We have grown older together in age, in calendar, but perhaps he is far more dynamic than I am. Respected Srimati S. Malarvedi, the chairperson, the host, and the star of this event. She is the one who has organized. Through K. Aditya, the young trustee, dear invitees, and my dear young friends. This institution, I had the privilege of visiting about a year and a half back. and I was truly impressed by the performance of the institution, the initiatives taken by the chairperson and the team of trustees, especially in the field of innovation, in the field of research, in the field of doing something new. It doesn't follow the beaten track, and that is the secret of its success, its achievement, and that should be the secret for the success of all of us. Don't follow the beaten track. Do something new, do something innovative. My friends, those who are from outside the country or those who are from outside Tamil Nadu, I must inform you that you are in a land which is exceedingly hospitable, which is immensely rich in its culture, tradition, literature, philosophy. This place, the Tamil Nadu, Tamil people, Tamil literature, Tamil culture, is several thousand years old. It goes way beyond the common era. And since then, this land has nourished, has shaped the culture, civilization, and the idea of our great country, Bharat. Right from the great work of great Tiruvalluvar, Tirukural, a stunning, unique blend of Dharma Shastra and Niti Shastra, unique combination of spirituality and ethics. In the 1330 Kurals, it has practically put things, it's like putting an ocean into a basket. It happened several thousand years ago. And we continue to derive inspiration and strength from that. Our literature of the Sangam period, a great Silpadikaram, Manimekhalai, Purnanuru, Tolkapiyam, so many. Endless. So this is the land of sages, saints, intellectuals, poets, philosophers. And here, those of you who have come from outside, I'm not sure how much time you have because unfortunately I'm told that your programs are all very tight. But I wish whenever you have time, in between or beyond, move around, feel it. Feel it in the air. It's the hospitality, the nature of the people and the place. Friends, we all know that today the world is facing numerous existential crises. It's not a crisis, the crisis that the world is facing, which is looming at the horizon, and I should say some of them are way inside, no longer on the horizon, they are very much here in our midst, touching every one of us. These are existential in nature. Human beings are in conflict with nature, and the result is Mother Earth is heating up. Glaciers are receding. Polar ice caps are melting. Rivers are drying up. Forest cover sinking. Island nations are facing imminent danger of being wiped off the map of the earth. huge problem. Man, human being versus nature. Then we are in conflict with ourselves, human being with human being. And we are witnessing wars, numerous wars, some visible and many more invisible. The conflict of conflicting ideologies, conflicting interests. Today, there are several countries in the world which have amassed such a large number of weapons of mass destruction that each of them can destroy the world many times over. We are on a very, very fragile balance. Anyone going crazy and we have nothing else but total devastation. It's not only we are in conflict with each other, we are in conflict with ourselves. Each individual today, despite all the new means, new gadgets for easy and comfortable living, is not at peace. The number of suicide, number of depressions, number of cases of abnormal behavior, abnormal change in the human personality is manifest all around. We are at conflict with ourselves. All this panorama of conflict, each one of them is an existential threat to humanity. We have far many other problems as well, not less important. Gender. Even in the most advanced countries in the world, the women there will tell you that environment there is not very, very friendly. Apparently, in the relative terms, they might look, the women have more opportunities, but when you talk to them, when you see their conditions, their working conditions, their living conditions, you have huge gender discrimination. And when half the world, at least half the world, is discriminated, how can we think of building a peaceful and harmonious, pleasant world? We have problem of poverty. A large section of our people in the world are still hungry, starving for food. We too, during the colonial period, since they had destroyed our agriculture and they had made us to produce commercial crops for their markets, like opium, indigo, instead of food grains, and excessive extortionary taxations, our agriculture had suffered hugely, and when the British left, we were facing a starvation. Famine had begun during their time itself. India never witnessed famine before. Thanks to our scientists, thanks to our farmers, within a short period we became food surplus. And we are in a position to feed the hungry in the world. But the fact is, a large section of the humanity is still starving. We have poverty and starvation. Now all these problems, each one of them are serious enough to make us sleepless. Combination of all these, it does not bode well for the future of the world. Now, if you look at all these problems, much of these problems, and perhaps almost all of these problems got aggravated in the last about 70 years or not. The world order that emerged or that was created in the aftermath of the Second World War by the victors, this order has proved to be iniquitous. It has proved to be unworthy of solving the global problems, the problems of humanity. Look at recent pandemic. When COVID has struck, it didn't spare anyone. It didn't spare anyone in any part of the world. And then, when we didn't know the way out, at the time when the developed countries, advanced countries, when they developed vaccines, there was an expectation that perhaps the empathy for a fellow human being elsewhere would emerge, would assert, and perhaps the medicines and vaccines would be shared with the less privileged. But it didn't happen. Instead, vaccine nationalism began. People started hoarding, those countries started hoarding more than their need, and raising the price of the vaccines. It was in that background, in that backdrop, that thanks to our scientists, that when we invented vaccine, and now the world has accepted, though at the beginning, out of disbelief or out of whatever be the reason, disbelief in our capability or so, they raised a lot of suspicion over it. But today, the world has accepted that our vaccine is among the best in the world. And when we, thanks to our scientists, when we invented the vaccine, we shared the vaccine with the needy people in over 150 countries in the world. And that too, free of cost. This is Bharat, this is India. This is sanskar of India, this is DNA of India. It believes in, when we say Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, world is a family, it is not a political slogan, it is in our DNA. Because India cannot afford to see any suffering elsewhere. No Indian can afford to see any suffering elsewhere. It is there with us. It is a legacy of thousands of years of cultural spirituality which has evolved as our culture. As our dynamic Sherpa mentioned about the democracy. People talk about democracy. Even here I find people very often, I hear very educated people, learned people, whenever there is a talk of democracy, they never feel tired of mentioning Abraham Lincoln. Democracy for the people, of the people, and by the people. Little realizing that at the time the person who coined these expressions, women had no participation. Propertyless people had no participation. And the blacks were not considered even human beings. So what did they mean by people? In this country, our stone scriptures are witness. All over the country, be it near Kanchipuram, go to North Bihar, Lakshmi, go to Kashmir, go to Kamrup, everywhere stone scriptures tell you how participative decision making was there several thousand years ago. Even the kings and queens were not sovereign. The kings and queen being sovereign is a Western European concept. No, here they were subject to dharma. And that is why people, some of our own people, because of this colonial influence and colonization of mind, they have difficulty in understanding Bharat. They try to understand Bharat as a state from the European context, European perspective. how the states evolved in rest of the world. In Europe, by a strong man. Ruler with a strong army captured a territory, consolidated, a state emerged. And many countries which we call very developed today, they were built out of bloodshed, killing the indigenous people. Annihilation of indigenous people. Bharat, no, it was not built by any king or any queen. It is a cultural and civilizational evolution. Cultural and civilization evolution that began since the days of Rig Veda, when our people discovered and the truth, the mystery, resolved that we are all part of a family. Be it human, be it animal, be it plant. We are all children of this Mother Earth. And so we have a relation of kinship. And when we say Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, it is not just in one language, it is in every language. Here in Tamil, we say, Yadumure Yavarum Kelir. It is everywhere, in every Indian language it has, because it is our sanskar. It is in our DNA. So, G20 as an opportunity, holding the presidency of G20 as an opportunity, unique opportunity that we have to tell the world, to share with the world. The new way of thinking, the new way of living, the new way of conducting our affairs. And sharing the magical transformation that our country, India, is going through. In the last